weekly basis. That's Lance Mickelson on the move, and the ball is thrown into the flat, and White tripped up and dumped by Courtney Dinkins after the short game. Louisville defensively, can the Cardinals at least slow down the Big Blue? They did on that play. The left end, Mike Gantos, the captain, a junior. The linebackers in a flex scheme can all run well, and that includes number 17, Otis Floyd. And the secondary with 3 players starting their very first game at their respective positions. Antonio Roundtree, we've seen him on special teams. He comes out of the backfield to open up at a cornerback position. They'll keep it on the ground. Derek Homer, 205-pound sophomore, works it inside. Kentucky wants to get him the ball a bunch today. They were looking for about 20 carries out of him. That'd be a quarter of his totals of a season ago.
Well, Kentucky has the reputation, well-deserved, of being a finesse team that throws the ball, but you lose sight of the fact that they've got 2 outstanding running backs in Homer and White.
Out of the gun for Tim Couch. Open receiver, first down. The 45-yard line, Craig Yeast. Wrestled out of bounds, too, by Antonio Roundtree. It's a first down for the Cats on a gain of 19.
Well, so much for Yeast's sore ankle. He just ran away from the coverage on this one. Yeast is going to come from the top right of your screen. Couch is looking for him the whole way. He doesn't even check off to anybody else. He's looking for one guy on this, and that's his star receiver, Yeast, who led the SEC in receptions last season.
The top returning target. All the schools, all 12 in the SEC. Look at those numbers. To the left side of the formation. Dancing to a hole there at Coder. And he rips them for 8 yards. Stadium. At the moment, it looks to be Kentucky. Motion prior to the snap with their feet. Here comes Hughes. Got a big first quarter already. Looking out into the flat and taken down is Anthony White. Rashad Harris, the linebacker, on his back. It's in the pass. 3rd and long. Couch looks end zone. Here comes the heat.
Look at number 20, Bud Herring. He's got to pick out Quentin McCord across there. There's just no way that that's going to happen. And now it's just a matter of talent in the open field and speed. And Quentin McCord has plenty of both.
14 unanswered for the record-setting Tim Couch. 2 touchdown tosses for number 2 in the very first quarter of a brand new year.
And he's excited about that. This is his Heisman race, and he's on national television right now on Fox Sports Net, and he knows this is big.
Very first touchdown reception of Quentin McCord's career, the sophomore receiver. James Whalen on the receiving end as well. And it is 17-7 as we open quarter number 2. On the draw, and out of Jackson, the end around, and he gets a seal. And a block. And a first down. And T. Martin pulling for him.
And that's a tough team to have to play this early in the season for the Volunteers.
A tough way to make a yard.
Well,
I'd
give him the yard back.
Holy mackerel, his face mask may be dented there. John Rader, the middle linebacker. Those are first quarter numbers, by the way. John Rader took Ivan Green's white face mask and put it right through the helmet there.
Ivan Green has a huge target painted on all sides of his body. They've got it in infrared. They've got it in black and white. That guy's going to always get nailed every time he touches that football because of what he did last year.
Over the middle again. Should draw a flag. Green. Interfered with. Slatting. Over the middle. Willie Gary out of the secondary jumped the route, knew what was coming, and arrived a hair early.
Well, Gary hasn't had a lot of practice this fall because he's been out with an ankle injury. Now here's Ivan Green. This is exactly what he's looking at as he's coming across. And all that is mistiming.
On the defense. Spotted foul. First down.
That's just mistiming by Gary, and that's a factor of not having practice for weeks and weeks. during this fall camp because he's just now come back from an injury.
4th penalty today against the Cats. Play action. Redmond is hammered. Jump ball caught at the 12-yard line. What a grab. Lavelle Boyd. It's a first down. And Redmond will love him for that as he went around Jeremy Bowie. You're talking about basketball at the outset today. It's a jump ball at the 15-yard line.
He had absolutely no way to do anything here. He just gets nailed, and that's why that ball goes way up in the air. Redmond is a tough guy. He got hit like that all year last year. If that just happens once in a while now, it'll be good for him.
Inside, Leroy Collins.
Boy, Paul, I'm still thinking about that hit that Redmond just took. I mean, that's as hard as you will ever see a quarterback get hit right there.
33.
Marlon McCree leveled him. The linebacker leveled Redmond, who hung in there tough. And now the jump ball.
And this is just like that Louisville, Kentucky basketball game there.
Denny Crum would love this.
And look at the hit right under the chin. Now, in the NFL, that's a $20,000 fine to land on a quarterback with your helmet right in his chin. I don't think you can find a college kid $20,000 though. Marlon McCree, a linebacker. He's only about 200 and some pounds. He's a little guy, but he's got quickness and explosion. Now when he blitzes in untouched, watch your mouthpiece.
3rd down, needing 3 to hold on to the football. Same play 3 separate times. Very conservative play calling from John Smith and his offensive staff down deep.
You know, Paul, I don't know that it's conservative so much as it fits a philosophy. John Smith and his staff want to have a punishing offense, even when it's finesse, even when they're doing the finesse.
So the field goal unit will come on and try and salvage 3 from 22 yards out. Here's John Hilbert. Returning is the Cards kicker. See, last year a half dozen field goals. Just a chip shot. Jeremy Borseth, the punter, sets it down. Plays the tough angle pretty darn well. And Louisville tightens the spread to a touchdown. 17-10 in this one in the first half, living up to its billing. We play in the bluegrass state of Kentucky today. The Cats coming are calling to take on homestanding Louisville, but is there also, Darren, something known as Cardinal red grass?
Oh, it certainly is red grass. Actually, it's GN1 Bermuda grass. The GN stands for Greg Norman. He uses it on his golf courses. In fact, would you believe that this field actually meets USGA draining specifications? One other note, it's also the same grass that they use up in Green Bay at Lambeau Field.
They're playing at Lambeau Field tomorrow. He's going to have about a 200-yard to 300-yard all-purpose afternoon.
Going to have a lot of opportunities to bring that ball back. And Paul, that field, if you go out there, being a USGA certified field, if you go out there and practice with your pitching wedge, I guarantee you, you will be shot. Don't do it.
Good to see Greg Norman, too, returning to health. He's reading today that the great white shark will be back on tour soon. But it is his agronomy firm that he owns. He's designing and really minting millions with synthetic turf such as this. A man who means a mint to Kentucky, Tim Couch with the football. A lot of time, and he has a target at the 40-yard line in McCord. McCord is open big. That's 17 yards. Down and over the middle, and Courtney Dinkins is in on the stop. A lot of time to throw for Tim Couch.
Well, that's the key to this kind of a route. Same thing McCord scored a touchdown on earlier on, where there's so much time that he has the time to run all the way across the field. It's an all-senior offensive line protecting this kid.
Couch today nearing 200 yards already. McCord's second reception.
23-yard line.
The hitch, everybody covered. And now floats. Goes for broke downfield, and it continues for him. His third score, Jermaine White. gets away from Rashad Holman. Couch with a 57-yard bomb for 6 more.
And Couch with forever to throw that football.
That's a toss. You see the Johnny Unitas statue framed by the goalpost. Johnny U would have loved that.
Extra point by Hanson is good.
Hanson, the extra point. Tim Couch, 3 touchdowns in the first half for invaded Kentucky.
Here, Couch is looking to his left, double coverage on Coleman. He will turn around, look to his right, see single coverage on Jermaine White, and that's where he throws the ball. He's got all day to do this, and number 28, Jermaine White, you're going to get open if you've got that long in one-on-one coverage. No one is within 30 yards of those 2 guys.
Jermaine White with speed to burn. He's a 4.4, we are told by the Cat staff.
He's the guy they wanted to redshirt this year, but he had such an outstanding spring and fall camp they couldn't afford to.
How can you run a 4.4, 6 feet 6 inches tall?
You can run right into the NFL doing that.
Raphael Cooper flagged down. Cooper lost his edge. Jeff Zerker, at the age of 26, came running down, pounding good. We're huddled up again. And that'll push Louisville back. On these 3 touchdown passes from Tim Couch, well, this one took 2 plays. The one before took 1 play. At his first touchdown toss of the afternoon, just 3 snaps, all under a minute.
This is the BYU offense. Hal Mumme and his staff went to Lavelle Edwards and Hal for years to look at film, talk with Lavelle and his staff at BYU. Then he and his staff added a few extra wrinkles to it, but this is essentially BYU's offense. As I think back on those days, I played center on the varsity for 4 years with Jim McMahon, with Steve Young. One of those years, our average touchdown drive was about 1.5 minutes, and Couch is bettering that today.
Now can John L. Smith's offense go to work? Again, backed up to the 11, play action for him, and he'll try it for Jackson. Well covered, nearly intercepted, and Jackson becomes a defender on the play. Eric Kellen on the corner, out on the island, did a nice job. We see Bill Moss rip his arm off.
That wasn't a prosthetic arm, that was a real arm. These guys are tough.
Bill Moss is a tough guy.
He played nose guard, defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. I had to play against him. I used to be 6'7", Paul, but now I'm about 6'4", because of Bill Moss. I had to call him up and I don't know what I'd tell him. I'd be afraid to.
They're all pumped up for tomorrow. The National Football League getting underway, coast to coast. Conference USA and the SEC today. That means Mumme's in town to face Louisville.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty remains 2nd down.
Now, if you're John Smith, you want to burn some clock here. Worst thing you can do, and he trails by 2 touchdowns now, is give the ball right back to the Cats, and it's 2nd and very long. Redmond throws short. Did Ivan Green get out of the end zone? It's rolled incomplete. Ivan Green right at the goal line. Very nearly dropped for the sack by Jeff Snedeker, the linebacker.
Snedeker is zeroed in on Ivan Green here. Look at Snedeker. The only guy he's looking is number 6 right there, and he's hoping that he'll catch that ball, because if Snedeker is stalking Green, he sees Green 2 yards deep in that end zone. He's looking for that sack or that safety.
What a number that Snedeker and the Cats have done on Ivan Green. A grand total of 3 receiving yards in the first half. Trouble time now. Redmond looks, and the receiver Jackson did not turn in time. He would have been open had he turned earlier, matched up again with Eric Kelly, and now Redmond and the Cardinals will have to punt it away.
Paul, that's a function of being Redmond and Jackson's first year in this offense, and really the only real advantage that I see Kentucky and Couch having over the Cardinals and Redmond is that this is the 2nd year in the offense for Couch, the 1st year in the offense for Redmond and his receivers. The timing will not always be there.
Kentucky should enjoy sterling field position after this punt by Jeremy Borseth. Hey, he's a Green Bay guy, is Borseth. Got to be used to turf like this.
Grew up a Packer fan.
And he hit it off the side of his foot. It lounds, but takes a Louisville roll. A break for the Cardinals across midfield and into Kentucky territory. Now the Cats with the football once again. Mummy Ball establishing 15 records in the SEC, 51. The University of Kentucky, you literally rewrote Kentucky record books. You often hear people say that. The most points since 1950, Paul Bear Bryant was Kentucky's coach in 1950.
And what difference does a year make? The difference in points scored per game is 19 pre and post Mummy from 96 to 97. Over 250 yards per game higher with Mummy and Couch.
As irony would have it, Coach Brian, they beat Alabama too. There are posters of that win. The ball popped out after Homer appeared to be down. A bunch of Cardinal fans saying it belongs to Louisville, and the officials have been talked into it. It is Louisville's ball, the first turnover of the afternoon.
The advantage of having an academically good team like the Cardinals, you get some debate majors down there know how to persuade an official. You get that ball in the bottom of a pile, there's no way to know who's got it, and it might change hands several times before it gets there. This is just Ohio State, Michigan, circa 1975 football in this play. Just pounded up the middle, but that ball being loose like that.
How clearly was he down?
He looked to be down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Clearly down on the play.
But when you look where we are, we're in Louisville. And if the ref isn't sure, he's got to call it for somebody.
The Cardinals now. A couple of yards in the Kentucky territory. Quick hitch and batted away. Nice play on the reach around by Eric Kelly, the quarter. Kelly from Panama City, Florida. Hurricane Earl roared through his hometown Wednesday night. Very fortunately for the Kelly family, everybody's all right. It's a scary evening, though, and Kelly had to phone home early Thursday to make sure all was right with his mom and family. They're okay, and Kelly now here, his mind back on football, made the nice play.
He did make a nice play. Had his eyes in the backfield, anticipated that coming, batted it away.
Second down. 4 straight incompletions for Redmond. The heat's coming. Make it 5. He's worked over again. Marlon McGee, the linebacker. The first of 2 Cats to arrive. Matt Leo, 2. The sophomore defensive end, bringing it around the weak side. Now, Anthony Bird, a weak side linebacker, is out on an island by himself from Redmond's backside. And
he came
you're going to get some
across.
pressure.
They want to blitz. I mean, Mike Major told us the other day that he promised me that he would not blitz until after they got off the bus. Well, that's what they're doing now.
Redmond, the heat again. He throws it incomplete. Feeling the pressure, Charles Sheffield was one of the red jerseys he saw in a blur. But again, Jacobs and the Wildcat Blue have done a fine job following the turnover.
We're seeing 2 different defensive styles materialize here. Kentucky is blitzing different players from different places to put pressure on Redmond, whereas the Cardinal defense has been sort of sitting back and trying to cover against Couch.
5th punt of the afternoon for Borsa, and it's East. East has been interfered with a couple of times. Got a bunch of passes already. Having a busy day. Tight spiral his way. And it's caught by Roundtree at the 2-yard line. Roundtree catches the punt by Borseth on the fly to pin Kentucky deep.
Well, you've got a guy that's a good enough athlete to move from running back to cornerback. He's going to be one of your top special teams players. Roundtree was last year, continues to be this year.
The Lady Birds celebrating today. National Championship pom-pom squad. Roundtree with the gunner, the speed on the outside to get down the field to make the play.
The rule says that if an offensive player isn't trying to field this punt, the defense can catch it just like the offense.
Kentucky with Tim Couch having displayed his medal. 3 touchdown passes already in the first half. In harm's way now at his own 2-yard line. How do the Cats come off their own goal line? They do so full. Couch dumps it. Caught by Whalen, who has a touchdown pass earlier. And he works it out to the 8-yard line. Hey, the video Titanic was released this week. I know you went and purchased yours. On the bow is Tim Couch. Where's Kate Winslet?
You know, the difference is Titanic never made it to New York. Couch was hoping to make it to New York and have that Heisman Trophy in his pocket when he comes back to Kentucky.
He's been a star today, a superstar. Nice toss there. Second down. Yeast on the move. Inside handoff. First down. Big hole, Derek Holder. Out to the 30-yard line. They gashed him off the right side. You have 5 seniors up front for Kentucky. They did their job here.
All this is a huge hole right up the middle. This is 5 seniors on that offensive line taking control. Look at the block of Watts right in the middle, the center. Look at that.
Pancake.
They're just driving people onto the ground. Paul, you talk about the first touchdown in this stadium. That's the first pancake in this stadium.
Gain of 23. Couch dangerous when moving. Runs close to the first down marker. Got about 7. Couch says he's stronger this year. His arm is stronger. And he pumped so much iron that he dropped 10 pounds. He's rock hard.
That's the scary part. I mean, they say that he's better this year than he was last. The primary thing he's better at is throwing the deep ball, but he worked hard all spring, heading into the summer on improving those things, and never takes a play off. Most quarterbacks need to rest. They need to take a drill off or a day off. Couch hasn't taken a day off since Mummy has been here. I've never heard of that.
Now the Cardinals are going to take a timeout. About 10 minutes to go in our first half, and it has been lively in Louisville on Fox Sports Net. It's great to have Kellen Winslow alongside Kevin in the studios. We have Darren Horton down on the field, Trevor Matich alongside. I'm Paul Kennedy. 9 and change remaining in this first half. Tim Couch has been nothing less than sensational. He dumps it again. Whalen is there, and he fights forward. Close to the first down. Looks to have it, but he attracts a lot of attention. John Smith, tough guy, tough defense. Trying to defend that man, and Tim Couch.
You can't give a guy that good with that sophisticated of an offense the same look over and over. He's going to kill you. So we've got to give him different looks. We've got to bring people from different places, not only different coverages, but different stunts, different mixes up front, different ways to try and add pressure to it.
This team mirrors the man in the way they fly to the football. Certainly early in this game, they may not be the most talented collection of college football players, but they have a lot of heart on display today in this historic after the Couch too high there, a rare incompletion. Can you imagine the emotion that the Louisville players are feeling today? This stadium, for the first time ever, they have an on-campus stadium here. It's $63 million. They have their arch rival in town, a new head coach. They're facing Mummy.
The players are fully aware of the historical nature of this game. And they're also fully aware of the changes in themselves. Paul, you mentioned how tough these guys will play. That's a hallmark of John L. Smith's team. The last play, second to last play, 10 defensive players were around that football.
Couch, flushed a bit. Again, able to save the play for about 7 yards, sliding at midfield. Jimmy Haley, the tight end. As Louisville saw it today, I guess the biggest key for John Smith, take a look at this, was first of all to keep your feet on the ground with all the emotion that they would be charged with. And then don't give up any cheap touchdowns. I'm afraid they've been burned for 3 of them already.
Yes, they have.
Slipping through the middle, and again right at the stick. Xavier Burrell with the play as Lance Mickelson becomes still another in that Wildcat covey to put his hands on the football. 7 different receivers have been on the receiving end of Tim Couch passes. And then you also have Derek Homer hitting home runs for big gainers up the middle. A carry of 23 the last time he toted the ball. Couch, wide open 30. 25 down to the 23-yard line. Evan Coleman in front of Burrell. Gets him for 24.
This is a crossing route, number 20. Bud Herring is supposed to pick him up, but he falls down. It's coming right at you. You'll see Coleman all by himself, and on the ground, just to your left, that red shirt that hit the ground, that was Bud Herring. He was supposed to follow him all the way across. That's how he got so open.
Couch now at the 300-yard plateau, right on the threshold in the first half. And marching the Cavs. On the draw, Homer hammered. First man to get there was Rashad Harris, number 52, the linebacker. He bent the play back on Homer. Homer with a great day to conclude last season. The regular season finale for Kentucky. He torched the University of Tennessee Volunteers for $130, 137 yards on the ground.
And that's a good defense down there. That's why you've got all these great receivers and quarterbacks that get all the press, but you've got some running backs on this Kentucky team that can hurt you just as badly.
Two backs there now, and now out in the pattern for Couch. Dancing, waiting, looking toward the end zone, waiting a right-handed grab for a touchdown. Haley with the one-handed grab for 6. A leaping right-handed grab. The one-armed man at the goal line, Jimmy Haley.
Extra point is good.
And the extra point is good. Haley with the touchdown reception to go along with James Whalen, Jermaine White, Quentin McCoy.
Well, Ivan Green finished the season as the #1 receiving tight end in football last year. However, Haley started the first 4 weeks of the season as the #1 guy before he went down with a foot injury. This guy can catch the ball just as well.
31-10. 4 mummy ball touchdown passes and an early field goal.
All right, now take a look at this protection. 5 seniors protecting their quarterback. Look at these guys right here. Now look how long Couch has to throw. Usually that ball's got to be gone in less than 3 seconds. It's still time. There's still time. There's still time. And finally, he sees Dennis coming his way and releases the ball, but he must have 7-8 seconds to throw that football.
Right at the goal line, Mickelson was there as well. And Haley, the junior from Lowell, Massachusetts.
Paul, with protection like that, that's going to put... With protection like that, he's got to bring his offensive line with him to New York for that Heisman ceremony.
Well, don't get ahead of ourselves today. We have tonight, Brock Hewitt of Washington will be on display. Some great talent.
But he'll be there.
The short kick. Running up. Cooper, loose ball. That's a live ball, of course. And it's Louisville. Cardinal fans can take a deep breath. Sheffield all over that ball. As the Cards need to sustain. They were in this game leading 7-3. And then 4 straight strikes.
Well, now it's a matter of mental toughness for them. Their whole off-season program, conditioning and otherwise, has been geared towards making them mentally tough. Now's the time when it needs to manifest itself.
Redmond back under center on first down and on the move. Downfield for Jackson and in and out of the hands of freshman David Johnson in his very first college game at the age of 18. The Virginian with a nice play. The guy that sent out tapes to schools because no one was recruiting him. Kentucky looked at his tape, and Hal Mumme said he picked up the phone and offered him a scholarship on the spot.
And he had a fabulous spring and summer camp. This guy, they were excited to see what he was going to do in a game situation because he did every single thing they asked of him during camp.
Number 7, incomplete in his last 7 passing attempts. Elects to keep this one on the ground, and Raphael Cooper has a first down. All the way out to the 45-yard line on his first run from scrimmage for the senior from Detroit.
This is just a simple zone blocking play. Very basic. Cooper's just going to come to this side, and they're going to match up on the blockers. But this is the kind of play, the kind of running back that we talked about earlier, Paul, when we said Frank Moreau's a banger. Cooper is one of the guys with speed. Right now, the Cardinals need big plays. They've got one of their speed running backs in the backfield in Cooper.
First down now, near midfield. Play action. Redmond, Lavelle Boyd, and nearly intercepted. Jeremy Boyd was there. Redmond, of course, honored today that a Louisville great is on the sideline with Darren.
Yeah, you know, Redmond's doing a good job today. Tim Couch putting on a show, and this man put on a show in his day. Johnny Unitas, congratulations on this great honor, this statue erected in your honor today. How gratifying is for you?
Well, to come back here to see this edifice that's been built for the University of Louisville is fantastic. When I was playing here, of course, was in the dark ages. Never thought this would ever take place. But thank God for the people of Louisville and the people who had the money to back it and put it here on where it is right now. And it's going to help the program tremendously.
Your thoughts on these two quarterbacks that we're seeing today?
Both of them are great kids. Both of them have come through the Frank Camp school here with both great athletes and doing a great job. Couch seems to be doing real well. Mr. Redmond hasn't been doing that good so far, but we hopefully have second half coming up.
Johnny Unitas, thank you for taking the time to join us, and congratulations. The only number in the history of Louisville football that is retired, the number 16 of Johnny Unitas.
All right, Darren. Still the class of the Johnny Unitas, who went on to don 19, of course, of his NFL Hall of Fame career. The snare here, a rare opportunity for Ivan Green to handle the ball.
Ivan Green has been dogged by Snedeker, and that time he was again. It was third and about 13, and Snedeker stopped him short of that first down. As soon as he caught that ball, number 17 was all over him.
Redmond just 1 for his last 8 to the air, and thus the punt. Forsyth, former all-conference honoree, sends it down to the 20. It bounds around to the 8-yard line, and there it will draw a whistle. Just over 5 minutes remaining in an eventful first half. Tim Couch with 4 touchdown passes, and Redmond with 1. As we play here at Cardinal Stadium, filled to the brim. A sea of blue, a sea of red. And the twin spires of Churchill Downs just across the street. A busy day today. Coming up next, the Big Ten, the Pac-10. Fighting Illini in Pullman to take on Washington State. Then a Pac-10 duel in the desert. Brock Huard against J.R. Redmond and those Sun Devils. Check your local listing for the game in your area. Is there life after Leaf for the Cougars? We're going to find out this afternoon. Homer upended. Mike Gantos hitting him first. Our degree first half game summary, and Johnny Unitas was right. Oh, Johnny, you, the better half has belonged to the man from Hardin, Kentucky, population 350. Tim Couch.
The difference here is the time, the protection. Redmond has been harassed this entire half. Couch has had to be bored back there. He's had so much time to throw.
Hayden must be proud today. Leslie County's best. Yeast. Don Bibb, a sure tackle, and now a flag.
Pass complete to Yeast.
Flag for excessive contact after the first down gain.
Well, that's just frustration on the Louisville defense's part. Paul, they didn't need to run that play. Here, when you roll out the quarterback very often, what you're trying to do is create problems for the pass rush. You're trying to give the pass rush a different look so they can't zero in on the pocket. And so I think they're doing this for the rest of the Southeastern Conference. Now look at the pad that these defensive backs are giving these wide receivers. This is one of the reasons that they're open for the short passes, the short crossing routes. There's so much room in there. The reason that they're doing
Finds a receiver, and Robinson still on his feet at the 20. Works his way to the 16-yard line. Another big target from Stone Mountain, Georgia, and Jimmy Robinson. His first reception today, the 8th different receiver.
Well, the Cardinals
For
come
Couch.
after him. Here comes Herring, unblocked, right up the middle, right here. Couch is able to find Robinson coming across on the crossing route. And again, that's a function of the Cardinals being in the first year of a very complex defensive set. They've got to all be on the same page, and that's hard to do with so many receivers running so many different ways.
Third count. Inside the 29. Brings Jermaine White in motion. Steps around the pressure. Gantos throws on the right. The 5th touchdown pass of the first half. That's right, 5. From Tim Couch, to who was supposed to be his top target in Craig Yeast. All 5 touchdowns have come to different receivers. Yeast with his first of the season, and Couch is up on the bleacher steps, cheering on the crowd.
We mentioned the training tape of offensive coordinator Mike Leach. It includes this drill. Mike Gantos is going to come across this side, put the pressure on Couch. They practice this in a drill every day in practice. Couch ducks underneath and runs right back out to where he was. That's not just an ad lib by Couch, that's a practice drill. And that'll probably be in next year's training tape. Couch starts out looking to his right. He'll come back and he'll see Yeast on the crossing route and deliver the ball. But once again, he's got some pressure there, but it's still good time, good protection, and these crossing routes, Paul, are being completed on the far side of the field from where the receiver started. When that happens, that means there is not enough pressure on that quarterback.
Tim Couch, 5 touchdown passes in the first half. Homer, who turns the corner, and that's a first down. With Couch to the flat again, snared by Yeast, replacing Gary Davis, and that is good for 8. The former walk-on, Gary Davis, who earned a scholarship from Hal Mumme, his second reception of the day, had 5 all of last year. He's earned some playing time, and it must be tough to earn footballs here on this field with all the talent they have.
And Paul, look at all those red jerseys in the box. Once again, they're manned up there one-on-one. Holman is out there giving a lot of cushion. Defensive philosophy seems to be coming into the second half. Let them have those short passes. Don't let them run free after they catch it.
Couch now over 400 yards passing. The deep handoff to Derek Homer, who lowers his head and earns the first. Must be like being on the big screen with, say, Cameron Diaz. Nobody notices you're there when you're Homer. But he's had a good day, solid day.
Look at the block that number 35, A.J. Simon right there, throws on number 19, Dinkins. Boom! There's Dinkins on the ground. And so you wonder why Homer has that corner. Dinkins, number 19, had contained. When he's on the ground with that block by Simon, can't do it.
Kentucky pushing Louisville down the field. Nicholson on the slide. Corner route. Yeast. Touchdown. The 6th for Couch, the 2nd for Yeast. Most Kentucky fans haven't been in their seats very long on this warm day today in Louisville.
Well, every point to them is delicious here at their arch rivals cross state, Louisville.
Yeast snaring by Yeast, and then he's rolled up by Holman. Holman began to make a move as if to intercept the pass and couldn't close the gap after the bill. Here comes Homer. Shallow ball. A junior. Couch. Look at the time he has. Yeast goes vertical, and he just overshoots it. And right around, he replaces Yeast. They'll throw to the ball carrier out of the backfield.
Backfield to receive the ball in the Southeastern Conference. So who do you put on it? Do you put a big linebacker to stuff him on the run? Do you put a little cover linebacker on him? Big matchup problems.
Second down and
Getting
8.
close to 3. Play action to Homer. Couch runs. Flag thrown behind him. Couch sprints out of bounds. 2 yards shy of a first at the 30-yard line, but the referee threw the flag as Couch was scooting out of trouble. And it is against, on the preliminary indication, against the Cats. They'll bring it back.
Big Mark Gantos, number 74 for the Cardinals, has not slowed down. You can see that conditioning that he went through, losing all that weight this offseason, gaining all that strength. It's a hot day. We're heading towards the fourth quarter, and yet it was his hustle that drew what I think is a holding penalty.
On the offense, we're going to run 10 yards, spot the foul. Replay second down.
Mark Gantos, another building block for this team. He is at what they call the point of their defense, which is out over the tight end on running plays. On pass plays, he has to rush on their right tackle. But he's a guy they need to hold up. They feel he's their best defensive lineman. That's why they want him there. He's a guy that for the future, this season, they'll be counting on heavily.
The 9th penalty today against Kentucky, as Couch with Gantos chasing him, rolls to the boundary and throws, and it's ruled incomplete.
Pass ruled incomplete, caught out of
Quentin
bounds.
McCord cannot get his feet set inbounds. Let's go back down to Darren.
Well, guys, if you think the offense is bright, look on the defensive side of the ball. You see this guy back here, number 56. His name is Dennis Johnson. He and his brother Derek Johnson were 2 of the best defensive players in the history of Kentucky high school football. First team All-State. First time that ever happened. The 2 brothers were on the first team All-State. Not to mention, do you even know when these guys began playing high school football? In the 2nd and 3rd grade. I kid you not.
You see, being 8 years old and playing high school football. Out of the backfield and open. Dougie Allen sheds a tackle and is down to the 31. That is now the 10th different receiver to touch the ball.
And that is another good receiver. This is the deep a receiving core. As you'll find in the nation, Dougie Allen, the 10th guy to catch a ball. He's a true freshman, but he runs routes like a veteran. You watch him stride it out in practice. You watch him get in and out of his breaks. He doesn't look like a kid that just came out of high school, and yet he's only the 10th guy to have caught a ball today. Where does it stop? In the depth of this receiving core and running back core.
4th down. The 2nd time on this possession that Kentucky is going for it, and why not? They're still in the 3rd, and the Cats in a commanding position. And that is a first down.
Derek Homer, the ball
Last
carrier.
year, and now a late flag thrown in, appeared. Let's see. Something went flying in. It may have been the beanbag.
Cardinals
From Steve Newman, the referee, as if the ball came out late.
The Cardinal defense is stripping at that football. They're trying to get it out of there.
And it does belong to Louisville. So an earlier fumble that was late. It appeared the forward progress had been stopped as well. As Roundtree comes away with the football here after the ball popped free.
Well, that's one of the things that the coaching staff for the Cardinals will be looking at in the game films as they study them this weekend. They want to see who's still playing hard, who's flying around, who's giving it everything they've got, because those are the guys they want on the field for the rest of this season. And one thing that you'll find in this Louisville team that you'll never find in a lot of teams, that this team will never, ever, ever give up.
Homer, they have gotten a home field call there. 64 points in the Battle of the Bluegrass between the Cats and the Cards. And it's Chris Redmond who threw his 2nd touchdown pass of the afternoon at his previous possession, getting them set offensively. On first down, everyone out in the pattern. And some miscommunication with Arnold Jackson, the intended receiver. They are in the desert in Tempe, where every team would like to play its final game of this college season, where the championship game will be in. All up on Fox Sports Net tonight. We go coast to coast, and Redmond goes down. Marvin Major with the big hit. A man who played a vital role in getting this Louisville program going again, is down with Darren. He helped build this stadium, Darren.
He certainly did. You know, they call the United Center in Chicago the house that Michael built. This stadium right here might be the house that Howard Schnellenberger built. What does it mean to you to see this thing come to fruition? You came here in 1985 and got the ball rolling.
Well, this means success for a lot of people. It means success for the people that came as young players to play for us, the coaches that came together, that achieved and won and beat Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl, and those 3,500 people that put $15 million in the bank 7 years ago to make it happen.
That's fantastic. Also, you know, you've coached Testaverde and Kelly and some other great quarterbacks, Kozar. What do you think about this guy Couch and the other kid?
Well, I think both of them, both Tim Couch and Chris Redmond, are both quality quarterbacks. They weren't tested today, but they certainly had great numbers. The difference between these two teams today is not the quarterbacks, but the play of the offense and defensive line.
Now, many people don't know this. You're not out of football. You're at Florida Atlantic University, starting a program up 2001. How is that?
Well, it's going very well. We look forward to the opportunity to bring football to Florida Atlantic. We're scheduled to do that at the Division I AA level, year 2001. A lot of support, a lot of football players in that area. Great opportunity.
Howard Schnellenberger, good luck to you. Thanks again. Back upstairs to Paul.
Won a national championship, of course, at Miami. Says he has the blueprints for building a winner. Played at Kentucky. Coach Bryant did Howard Schnellenberger, and of course, had Louisville to the point that they beat the Crimson Tide in a New Year's Day bowl game.
He's got the credibility to start up a new program.
Got an iron chin on him, doesn't he? Howard Schnellenberger here today. That win over Alabama, getting to that bowl game was seed money for this stadium. Borson sends it up to shoot. Yeast calls for and makes the fair catch. 32-yard line. 2:43 remaining. New stadium here today, and just the third year for Conference USA, which expands now to 8 teams. The Cadets of West Point join the league this year. You see Army on the bottom of your picture there. What great tradition that they bring to CUSA. The number of NFL performers here too, Trevor, pretty impressive, especially the draft last year.
Well, look at Louisville and Houston there, especially Louisville with the 16 players playing in the NFL currently. You know, those guys are hard to replace, but they have a history of developing those kind of athletes here at this school and in this conference.
Jason Fabini starts at right tackle offensively tomorrow out of the University of Cincinnati for Bill Parcells from the New York Jets as they open the season. The rookie went in there, won himself a job. Anthony White on the receiving end for 4. So Kentucky now much more conservative with Couch. They throw underneath here, and they've been running the ball a great deal more in the latter stages of quarter number 3 after Couch threw for 5 touchdown passes in the first half and tacked on number 6 here.
Now, running the ball gives the big dogs their bones. Those 5 guys right there, this is a reward for them. All right, guys, you've been pass blocking all game. You get to come off and get some meat.
Checks at the line. Sees something he likes. It's Yeast. When he sees Yeast matched up, locked up in man coverage with, say, Rashad Holman, as was the case here, he'll take those odds.
Every time. And the Louisville defense is allowing that to happen with some cushion there. But Yeast one-on-one against anybody is a place to go. The problem is if you double up on Yeast, who's going to cover Coleman? Who's going to cover Dougie Allen? Who's going to cover Lance Mickelson? Who's going to cover those 2 backs out of the backfield? So that's why Yeast has had single coverage the whole game.
We don't have all the answers here. We don't have all the answers, but we got a lot of questions here through John L. Smith. On first down, here is Homer. They pulled the center and Jason Watts try and open up on him. But saw Jeremy Streck there too, the guard.
You know, sometimes what they'll do with those big fans is they'll put big blocks of ice in front of those fans on really, really hot days to blow it off of that ice so it'll cool it off even more. But that's a bunch of guys there that doesn't have to feel too bad about what's happened here. The thing really that John L. Smith wants right now out of this team is, and Chris Redmond, is for them to continue to go, to continue to work hard. Now, Redmond, how tough can you be? Look at that. It looks like he got his chin split wide open on one of those hits. And you'll still find him in there battling, and that's what they want to build on.
2nd and 10. Post route in progress. and through the arms of Jermaine White. White's been on the receiving end of a 57-yard touchdown strike today. And that was right on his hand.
Well, that was the problem with White last year as a true freshman. He'd make some spectacular plays, then he'd drop some passes like that. Again, he seemed to have much better consistency over the course of this offseason, this summer camp, but that's the kind of thing right there that they want him to get over, and you know what? He will. This is a kid that has no idea the natural ability that he has, and once he starts to figure out what he really is capable of doing, not just on this level, but on the next one, you're going to see this guy start to have a new urgency to his preparation. This guy you'll be hearing from for years to come.
Major infraction being stepped off against Louisville. May have been roughing the passer.
Personal foul. Illegal contact to the face on the defense. First down.
Much the same thing. That'll step it all the way down to the 40-yard line with less than a minute to go in period number 3. Couch has him on a string at the moment. He has been in command since the latter stages of quarter number 1. Team once trailed 7-3, but Anthony White and the Wildcats from nearby Lexington, 70 miles away from this stadium, have roared back. Rashad Harris with his 10th tackle of this football game. A valiant effort from him, just a sophomore. Ed Harris. And he's all of 18 now, Trevor, as you were pointing out. Last year as a 17-year-old, they go into Penn State, and he has a double-digit tackle showing there.
And when you're 17 playing against 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds, there's a big difference in your physical development.
Big spread. You're right. Second down. On the draw. And White bent back. A year ago against Louisville, Anthony White had a 100-yard rushing game and a 100-yard receiving game. Maybe he'll tack on a few more yards as we go to the 4th. We go to the 4th on Fox Sports Net on College Football Saturday, the first of 3. Coast to coast today. Quarterback Chris Redmond and bloodied left chin looking at his counterpart, and Couch throw for a 7th touchdown of the afternoon. Quentin McCord from Couch. Couch equals his own Kentucky record and sets to a single game passing mark.
Hansen will attempt the extra point.
From 32 yards away, right on the money to Quentin McCord. For McCord, his 2nd of the afternoon. The record shattering in Big Blue continues for number 2. Well, the numbers continue to mount for Tim Couch, making a statement right out of the starting gate. Churchill Downs across the street. So the run for the Heisman begins with a clang of the bell, and one of the 2 twin spires of college football in the Commonwealth, along with Chris Redmond, that man there, and Tim Couch with 7 touchdown passes. Let's go back to the Paul Bryant years. And the last time a Kentucky team scored points like this. Heck, Hal Mumme wasn't even born. Their coach. Antonio Roundtree at the 20-yard line.
Paul, there's a lot more precision in this than you would think. On the training tape, they have a drill called throw it in the bucket, where the quarterbacks loft the ball up in the air, and then what they do is they put a bucket right here, and that ball comes right into the bucket. Quarterbacks do that every single day. Why? Because when there's a receiver there, it's a touchdown. This is very, very precise. Now look at this, one-on-one coverage with Roundtree out there on McCord, and this is just pure speed. McCord runs right by him.
Dropped it right in that bucket, didn't he? Tip of the football down. Arnold Jackson makes the cut to the sideline as we open up the 4th quarter. Hey, we are in the 4th. Couch scoring to get it underway. And I'll look at the numbers here. Close to 800 yards between the two, the most ever for Couch.
And you know,
the TDs, the most yards.
Redmond has his numbers in the face of a rush that split open his chin.
On the ground. Man that hit the hole the hardest today. Then Raphael Cooper. Sliced it up in there pretty good, hasn't he? He's got some heart to him.
This whole team has a lot of heart. And again, that stems from their strength and conditioning program. When John L. Smith got here, he didn't like what he saw in the offseason program. He immediately went to the University of Texas, got Rock Gullickson, Evan Marcus to come in and institute a program, not just to make them stronger, but to make them tougher. And even though the score is out of hand right now, you can see that toughness in the way they're playing in this fourth quarter.
Redmond, pressure again, throws it up short. Charles Sheffield in the vicinity, but the push continues to come up front. Does this surprise you, the way that Kentucky has been able to totally control the line of scrimmage physically now in the second half?
It surprises me that they've controlled it physically like they have, again, given the conditioning level of this Cardinals football team. However, this is the kind of a thing that you would pretty much expect from this kind of a system being installed, and I'll tell you about that in just a second.
Sheffield out wide to the top of your screen there. On third down, over the middle. Nice effort, incomplete for Lavelle Boyd. Laid out for the ball, and late flags down in the backfield.
So that's the frustration there. Coach will be looking for mental discipline, but when John L. Smith got to Utah State, he installed this offense, this defense, and they went 0-5 his first year there. But they finished that season at 4-7. The next 2 years at Utah State, John L. Smith and his staff had their team win their conference just in the second year. Now, when you look at what Howard Schnellenberger did here, his first 3 years, he failed to win more than 3 games.
Dead ball, unsportsmanlike on the offense, offset by a dead ball, personal foul on the defense. Fourth down.
He failed to win more than 3 games, but then in 1988 he went 8-3. In 90, Paul, you alluded to the 10-1-1 season where they won the Fiesta Bowl. And so John L. Smith doesn't want to wait 3 years to start to win, but it takes his team a while to learn what he wants them to do because it's fairly complex.
They went to a bowl game last year as the champions of the Big West, played Cincinnati out of Conference USA. Kendrick Shanklin, a freshman from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in his first college game. Calls for the fair catch. At the 24-yard line, we may get to see him carrying the ball when the starters are rested for Kentucky. Does Couch come back onto the field? We're about to find out. Couch has taken it to the house. And this day will always be remembered for a record-tying performance on his part, the first ever game in the history of Cardinal Stadium. Derek Homer cannot handle the football, is handed off from Matt Mummy in his Wildcat debut. And yes, that's the son of the head coach. First ever game here as he transferred from, holding up 2 there for us, Division II Valdosta State. So he jumped from Division II over 1AA to Division I football.
And this poor guy has had the misfortune to back up some great quarterbacks during his career.
Misfortune or learning experience, but here a chance to play now. To the boundary, and his first completion for Kentucky's Gary Davis.
And you see him throw that football? That's a hard throw to make. He was on the opposite hash. He had to drill it on an out, about a 12-yard out. That's a difficult throw to make. And Matt Mummy, his first throw, bravo.
Those quarterbacks that you mentioned, Chris Hatcher, 4 years ago, won the Harlan Hill Award, given to the best player in Division II. As you see Tim Couch over-congratulating his teammates on his performance today, and we still have 13 minutes to go in this game.
They should let him in there to get a 2-yard completion to make it 500.
And here finds James Whalen, who was on the receiving end of one of those 6 touchdown strikes.
Now look at the accuracy that Mummy's got there. Part of that is because he's been with his father since he was in about the 2nd grade, talking football over the dinner table. So he knows this system probably better than Couch does, because when Couch was in the 2nd grade, he wasn't listening to Matt Mummy or to Hal Mummy like Matt was.
And a gain on the play there of 16. Couple of completions, good for 21 yards. And now off tackle. And Homer looks to turn the corner at midfield.
Derek Homer is the ball carrier.
They have Homer in the game now for one purpose, you would believe, and that is to get him to the 100-yard mark. The second consecutive outing, finished the year with Tennessee on that.
Well, in the back of any coach's mind, way far in the back, but in the back, you want to do right by your guys. If you've got guys with talent that have been working hard for you, you want to get them their chances, their receptions, their rushes, because these are guys that have a chance to do things on the national level from a standpoint of awards. And they've been working hard. You want to give them that shot.
Homer comes right through the left side.
Homer, tackled by number 41, Xavier Burrell.
And down to the 35-yard line. So Mummy here and backing up Chris Hatcher first, who won the Harlan Hill Award, and then Lance Funderburg, the runner-up a couple of years ago for the Harlan Hill. Pretty talented players, but that was again at Valdosta State, with all due respect, Division II. Now Mummy makes the big jump and is the number 2 quarterback behind number 2. Won the job in the spring, the senior transfer. And on the move, another completion for him. The tight end, Jimmy Haley, tucks it to the 30-yard line.
To number 37, Jimmy Haley.
Jimmy Haley made the grab of the day, perhaps, that one-handed touchdown snare at the goal line earlier in the afternoon.
You've got a personal highlight reel and you've got a team highlight reel. That was going to make the team highlight reel, but Haley is going to have that one playing on a continuous loop, I think, at his home.
On
his personal highlight reel. It was awesome. Up in the air, one hand behind him, touchdown.
Couch got 3 of his touchdowns in that quarter.
Paul, it's one thing to have a quarterback that throws the ball so accurately he completes into tight places. It's another thing to have a quarterback like that, and on the few times that he doesn't throw it accurately, guys like Haley can go up and get it anyhow.
And Gary Davis, just 5 receptions all of last year for Davis.
Well, Gary Davis is being mentored by Craig Yeast. They've got a mentoring program on this where the veteran wide receivers, they kind of mentor the younger guys because there's so many, the coach can't coach them all.
Got 3 this afternoon. Homer hemmed in. There he goes. To the 12. 6-yard line, first and goal, Cats. And that'll take him over 100 yards. And he'll go to the sidelines having produced a triple-digit performance.
Well, Paul, here's a coaching point that'll come up tomorrow in the defensive game film. Number 96, Kennedy, goes to make the tackle and ends up on the ground. Instead of driving his feet through the tackle, he ends up reaching for him, stopping his feet. Homer kept running, and therefore he broke that tackle at the line of scrimmage. That's what allowed Homer to get through.
Wonderful day for him. So back-to-back, buck 31 against the Vols, and now 121 here against Louisville for this sophomore.
And look at Mummy, drink that water. Well-deserved, refreshing break.
Mummy's got the towel going on. He's got the water bottle here, trying to stay cool.
And I'll tell you this, and this guy right here, you talk about, this is adding injury to insult. This is Dennis, big defensive tackle. You know, you add insult to injury, okay. But this is injury to insult because this is, you know, this defense is embarrassed right now. Even though they've played a physical, hard game, they've been out of position a few times. But now to get hurt on top of it, that's a frustrating thing to have to go through. Different thing on the sideline of Kentucky.
So the senior, as you see, marking today his first career start at defensive tackle, playing on the inside in the trenches. Helped off the field and hopefully not seriously injured. Kentucky driving again. Does Mummy get his first touchdown pass? Oof. Shade your eyes if you're a Cardinal fan. Mummy with the newcomer Kendrick Shanklin toting the rock. Shanklin down to the 1. You're familiar with Warren Dunn, of course, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Travis Minor, the showing he put on national TV last week for Florida State. They all came out of the same high school as Kendrick Shanklin, Catholic High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They look somewhat alike, too.
You know, he does look a lot like Warwick Dunn. Warwick Dunn is the littlest guy on the field, no matter where he plays, but he's the kind of guy that you can't catch. If you can catch him, you could throw him all the way out of the stadium over the upper deck, but you just can't catch the kid.
Why not give Homer a touchdown here? They put him back in the game, not in the goal line situation. 2nd and 4 shots. And he's able to power his way in for the 6.
Again, Paul, what that is, that's how Mummy giving his guy his due. Homer's prepared to have a great game. He doesn't want him to have a great season. Doesn't want him to get lost in all the fuss and all the excitement with that passing game. That's doing right by your guys right there. And really, they're throwing the ball short here. They're running the ball mostly up the middle. And so there's not a whole lot less that they can do right now from a scheme standpoint.
9 plays, covering 3/4 of the field, and all the new head coach for the Cards, John L. Smith, can do is grin and bear it. It has to be killing him on the inside.
It is, but any football coach is not patient, but he knows he has to work to be patient. John L. Smith doesn't want to wait for a period of years for this thing to gel. I don't think that he will, but he also understands the struggle that he's got. He came into a 1-10 team.
After the play was over, we'll try the PAT from the 1.5.
He came in, took over a 1-10 team that didn't have good work ethics. It didn't have a lot of a good momentum going from an infrastructure standpoint, from a psychological standpoint.
Homer with the touchdown. Hansen, his 8th extra point. 62-16. The bridge over the Ohio River, the former home there too of the Cardinals, and now their new setting. Many Cardinal fans and a bunch from Lexington, Kentucky too already heading home. The issue decided a while ago, and still 10.5 minutes remaining in the football game. Roundtree slips and goes down again.
Roundtree's going to have to get a new pair of cleats for next week's game.
We have national championship cheerleaders, though, here, Trevor, on both sides of the field. Much like Nebraska and Michigan of a year ago, a split poll. Kentucky in blue and white, they won in their division, their association a national championship. Congratulations. And so did the Cardinal cheerleaders.
You know what? The Louisville cheerleaders, they're competitive down there. Before the game, I saw about 40 of them line up, and they all did a simultaneous, like, flip in the air and landed on their feet. All simultaneous. I couldn't believe it.
Timing is everything. Redmond, Ivan Green, I think as Redmond goes down shoved, he's about exhausted. He's been battered and bruised and was hit late.
And throwing once again to Ivan Green.
Throwing off that back foot. Darren, no doubt where the Governor's Cup is going this year, is there?
No doubt at all. You know, Tim Couch certainly made a Heisman statement, but while he waits to see what happens with that trophy, he'll have this to keep him and the Wildcats comfy for the next year, along with those bragging rights.
Snuggle up to that.
Yeah, that won't be there forever, though. The Ivan Green, Chris Redmond connection, Paul, that started when they were in the 8th grade. When they were in the 8th grade, they had a city championship grade in middle school. And Redmond had broken his hand on his a bone in his throwing hand. To win the game, he had to score a touchdown, and he threw an ugly pass to Ivan Green, who caught it. And after that, the chemistry between those two continued on through high school and now here to the University of Louisville.
And played for Redmond's dad, Bob, at Louisville Male High School. Raphael Cooper took a shot in the ribs there. Louisville just trying to clean up the score here with the time they have remaining. They got plenty of time to put some more points on the board. Certainly 23 would look a whole lot better than 16 on Sunday.
They're trying to build for next week, though, because there'll be a huge difference between this game and next, just in terms of assignment and recognition in these new systems. So they're still working hard. Kentucky, they won it, but Louisville still has hard work to do.
Jackson comes back to the football, and he'll be about 3 yards shy of first down. Kentucky next week will remain in the Bluegrass State. In fact, they take on one of the great coaches in the history of the game, Roy Kidd, and Eastern Kentucky, and what will be their second game of the year, their very first in Commonwealth, which is going to undergo a massive expansion. They're going to bowl in both end zones start on one end zone, the south end zone right away, and the north end zone next year. Next week for Louisville, they'll be facing Utah, the Utes. John L. Smith is very familiar with Utah as the head coach at Utah State. He's beaten Utah in each of the last 2 years. Going on the road there. Flagged out again. 62-16 here. Now that Moreau has carried the ball. He carried the ball about 3 times in the first half. Where has he been? Benched now until the fourth quarter, and he gained 17.
Well, they needed their fast guys, their receivers, in order to be able to try to get a big play. Moreau's not that guy right now. But take a look at the left tackle, 71, right there on the right of your screen, number 6 on Johnson. That guy's 330 pounds. John Grivna, he gets out and cuts a safety. That's what allows Cooper to have the freedom to get to that corner.
Gain on the play of 17. Moreau now. Bent back, and there's that freshman, David Johnson.
Frank Moreau again, the ball carrier.
Out of Virginia Beach and Princess Anne coming up from the secondary. That's the way you play the run, out of the secondary.
Well, if he goes up and tries to hit Moreau too hard, he's going to find himself with a serious headache tomorrow.
See all those wristbands? They all have all those plays. His head must have been spinning last night thinking about
52 numbers on that. They signal in a number, 29, and everybody knows what to do because they check that wristband. What's adjacent to 29?
The defense has been impressive. Mike Major, their coordinator, must be proud. Now Green is batted down. It was thrown behind him, and a flag is thrown too. You would believe it's pass interference initially. Chris Demery, freshman linebacker from right here in Louisville, checking in a reserve role.
Well, you mentioned University of Utah next week for Louisville. Having coached at Utah State for 3 years, the second 2 years there, John L. Williams and Utah State, their staff, they beat Utah, and that's their big rival. The first year Utah won, but then they've got their number. And so John L. Williams knows how to play those guys out there. The talent that he has here in Louisville compared to Utah State, fairly comparable. He's got enough tools here to do the same thing to the University of Utah that he did at Utah State. However, Utah, while they'll know his schemes, won't really know how he's going to mold these players to those schemes for that game. So there will be a strategic advantage in this game right here next week for the Cardinals.
Going back to the WAC. They take on Utah.
And football's flying every which way in that WAC. It'll be
on the defense. Ball replaced at the 13, first down.
Boy, that's not a break for Louisville, is it? If it is, that might be, what, the second of the day.
Kentucky has had more than its share of penalties. That's the 12th of the afternoon for them. Been pretty close to perfection, though, for the Cats today. Scooting is Ravel Cooper. And Cooper is pounded out of bounds inside the 10-yard line.
Paul, you know, another reason why Cooper's able to get to those corners, what we talked about early in the game, conditioning. Now, right now, the score is out of hand from a standpoint of a realistic shot to come back and tie this up and win the game. However, Louisville's still playing hard. Kentucky is also playing hard, but Louisville has that extra edge right now because of their superior conditioning. Probably won't help them win this game, but it's going to help them win games in the future. That's why he's able to get those corners right now.
Sheffield and Jackson spreading the field. Boyd in the slot to the near side. And it's Cooper. Right into the grinder off the left side. So they spread the field, and Kentucky was not going anywhere. There are a lot of fresh jerseys on that side of the football right now in blue and white. People getting a chance to play. 95 in the middle of your picture there, and Gordon Crow started today, the junior. And they dig in. Defense with some pride here. Kentucky, it appeared, had 12 men on the field trying to run a defender off. And he was sprinting to the sidelines. I do not believe he got out of bounds, but I don't see a flag. You had David Johnson still on the field.
And he tried to sprint off. The ball was snapped. He was still on. Technically, they could have called a penalty there. But again, Johnson was one of the last guys, veterans, to be replaced on that field. He's one of the guys that Cooper outran to that sideline. But now, a whole fresh group of Wildcats.
Everybody missed it. Cooper turned back at the goal line, falls forward and has the score. Raphael Cooper. And a hand from the loyal Cardinal fans here, including the Ladybirds, those that have stayed. They continue to battle.
Well, watch number 5, Cooper. Now, he's going to get to that goal line. Now, watch him cringe a little. Oh, because he knows he's going to get hit. Now, when you see his head snap like that, that's what a good hit is. There are hits that look good, but they're not. You watch the head of the guy that takes the blow, that's a hit. Now, the fact that he was able to turn around, roll it back in after taking a head snap and shot like that, again, something good that the coaches will point to.
And now Louisville for a second time. We'll go to 4-2. Sheffield in motion for a pick play perhaps on this side, and again Redmond. Just the pocket collapsing around him. Ronnie Riley, a linebacker, the freshman, got in there. What a great day this has been nonetheless for Tim Couch. Count them, 7 touchdown passes. The first came to James Whalen Jr., backup tight end.
That's just a pitch and catch, West Coast offense. Whalen has the time to catch a crossing route on the opposite side, scores.
And Quentin McCord, 48 yards out.
Same play. Couch has the time to let McCord cross all the way across the field.
Jermaine White, 57 yards out, right over Rashad Holman.
And a perfect pass laid in there.
It continued to pile on. Craig Hughes, or rather Haley, the one-arm grab here for this catch from 22, and now Hughes the first of 2. Stepping up, good footwork, Trevor.
They practice that every day. That's a drill that they do.
And why not go back to it all the way? And his 7th of the afternoon, and his 2nd to Quentin McCord.
And this is throw it in the bucket. It lands in the bucket in the end zone.
7 in all. And Couch with close to 500 yards, just about this shy of 500 yards.
You know, I don't know that there's any defense in the country that would have done much to stop this guy today. Because as you look at the way he's hit his receivers, most of the time the ball has been dead on accurate.
Onside kick will not be coming. Shanklin should have a return. He let that hit at the 2-yard line, though. And it scoots out of the end zone.
Well, it would have been him on 10 coverage guys, because Kentucky had everybody up to guard against an onside kick. You're not in a position to block. If he catches that ball and returns it, he's going to make his own way through a sea of red.
The first rushing touchdown of the season for John L. Smith. Feels as if he's been on the receiving end of a John L. Sullivan knockout blow. An immortal boxer today on the part of his cross-state rival.
And how would Howard Cosell have called that one?
And down goes Frazier, huh? But Couch, as good as advertised, stronger, more experienced. And as John Smith was saying, his own quarterback Redmond next year in the 2nd year of his system would be even more effective. Now Shanklin will get the carry, and still another tackle for Rashad Harris.
And now, Paul, you've got an important thing going on the Kentucky side of the ball. Behind those 5 senior offensive linemen, you've got 3 freshmen and a sophomore to come up and replace them next year. Talking to offensive line coach Guy Morris, he wanted a couple of games to get out of hand so he could get his youngsters some practice. Because next year, when those guys are gone, who's going to protect the quarterback? And I think that the backup offensive line will have a lot to do with whether or not Tim Couch stays next year or goes to the NFL.
Second down here for young Matt Mumme. Working the play clock. Shanklin. Footwork across the 25 and out to the 23-yard line. And you're right, Josh Parrish is out there, and you see the reserves for UK. Mike Campe in the backfield too. Nolan Devon. All reserves now in the offensive front behind those 5 Wildcat senior linemen who did a great job.
And these are young guys, 3 redshirt freshmen and a sophomore included in this group. This is invaluable experience for these guys.
75, Matt Brown from Hardaway, Texas, in his very first game. He's just a freshman. Deep handoff. And he will not get there.
But guy, look at the size of these freshmen. You've got Matt Brown, redshirt freshman, at 304 pounds. You've got 306, 327, 278. My freshman year at BYU, Paul, I weighed 220 pounds. I wouldn't make this team.
Hey, when they're huge.
They're huge, and they're freshmen, these guys. They haven't even grown up yet. Look at this.
Kentucky, by the way, is going to go for it here on 4th down.
You see, you got the base of the offensive line for pass protection and for run blocking, and these guys have a great base.
4th down and 2.
Martez Johnson, a freshman, he too from Detroit. On the carry there. And now Kentucky, running down the clock, will elect to burn a timeout with just under 6 minutes remaining in this game. 5:54 away from the finish line. 62-22. As Mummy's over to have a father-son chat.
You know what he's saying? Hey, Dad, what's Mom making for dinner tonight? And Paul, that group is going to be in the Meadowlands for that Redskins-Giants game.
James Dennis with ice on that left knee. Yeah, the Redskins have spent a lot of money on their 2 run stuffers up front. Does it help them? Find out tomorrow.
I don't think anybody's going to score on the Redskins this year.
Somebody wake up Jimmy Carter. Just his second punt of the afternoon. Jackson fumbles the ball and has to fall on it himself at the 41-yard line.
The 40-yard line on the return.
Coming up next is their life after Leaf in Pullman. And Illinois has not won the once proud Fighting Illini 17 consecutive games. How did that happen?
Well, the last game that the Cardinals won, Louisville Cardinals, was against Illinois last season.
The great demeanor, the relaxed demeanor of Hal Mumme. He has fit in Lexington in a big way. They have a street name for Hal Mumme. Coached 1 5-6 team. They hung the street sign out before he'd won a game out there. They love him so much.
They waited for Holmgren to win a Super Bowl before they did that for him in Green Bay. Mumme doesn't play a game, and he's got it.
Redmond on the roll for Ivan, and it's broken up. Incomplete. Defending on the play, Ronnie Riley.
Ronnie Riley on the coverage.
Yeah, they're hoping that 1998 might be the year of the cat. They have not been to a bowl game since the Peach Bowl indoors in '93. Their last winning season came in the decade of the 80s.
Well, Paul, the formula that Kentucky has on offense right now works. It's the BYU formula. My senior year at BYU, Robbie Bosco was the quarterback. It was our national championship season. We had 9 sacks given up that year, and it didn't matter who we played. They couldn't stop our receivers when the quarterbacks had that protection.
Everybody still covered. Redmond whacked as he throws that ball. Absolutely crushed as he let it get away, and it is incomplete. Now you got to ask yourself, this one is over with. What's to be gained by allowing him to stay out of here?
Everything. They've got to get
Watch Dennis
continuity.
Johnson.
He needs to learn how to run this offense. And again, that's helmet to chin strap, and that's a $20,000 fine in the National Football League right there.
That's that young pup in Johnson in his first game for UK.
You can't fine him $20,000. Don't know where he come up with it. But I tell you, it's so tough to do what he's done, but he's a tough kid, and he's going to have a great season for this Louisville Cardinal team.
6 straight incompletions till this snare by Ivan Green, who's off and running. Can he get into the end zone? Yes, touchdown. How about Redmond? Gets off the deck after a shot to the chops, and it's a 60-yard touchdown connection to Ivan Green. That is character in Louisville Red.
And that will show up, and it will show up this year. That combination is going to do that a lot this year. And Paul, you asked why Redmond was still in there. Why is Green still in there? That's why. They're learning a new offense. They need to get those reps, get those reads, so that as the season goes on, they're doing it automatically. They can do that more often. That's the same reason that the Cardinals' starting defense is still on the field.
Redmond with his 3rd touchdown pass of the afternoon. Our 2 quarterbacks have combined for 10, and nobody picked up Jackson. He just threw it out in the flat, and now it's ruled incomplete. That the ball hit the turf. A defender had failed to go over in what mirrors this afternoon. Even Jackson all alone. They couldn't get it to him for the two-point conversion.
Here goes Ivan Green, number 6. And again, you just can't cover him with a linebacker, especially a backup linebacker. He does this against starting linebackers all over the country, which is why last year he was the #1 receiving tight end in college football.
His second of the afternoon. He can break out the red and white Cardinal flags. What do they say? A team improves the most from the first game to the second game, especially under a first-year head coach.
You can't simulate this in practice. Every practice, about 10 minutes or so, they go first team against first team, but still it's different from a game. Now look at those cuts there. Last year against against Cincinnati, this guy had his chin split wide open. And this offseason, the new offensive line coach, Art Valero, went to Chris Redmond's parents to promise them that their son would not need stitches again on his chin. Well, you know what? Game 1, he got it. But you know what? Art Valero is doing a good job with that offensive line. And as everybody figures this out, this will be a sight that they won't need to look at. But you know, for parents to look at this, they can be proud of their son, because it's not easy to do that.
The fans love him here. In fact, there was a poll on the internet of the greatest quarterback in Louisville history, and it wasn't Johnny Unitas, who today had a statue erected in his honor. A man voted there, Chris Redmond, as the best quarterback ever to play here, and I think they have fallen in love with his character.
And you know something? Those pictures that we're seeing right now are going to add to that. And those pictures will live on years from now.
Talented quarterbacks there. Bottom of your screen, Jay Gruden, now the head coach of Orlando's team in the Arena League. They won the league in his first year as the head coach. He played, of course, for Howard Schnellenberger.
How many times have you seen in the NFL a guy bleeding like that go back in and play? And that fires up, it inspires the team. Now, I'll guarantee you that they're going to show that to that whole team, not just the offensive line. The offense, the defense, everybody's going to see that from Chris Redmond. And what John L. Smith is going to say is, guys, we need everybody to be tough like this kid. We're going to be all right.
In the Derby City this afternoon, Kentucky first to the wire. They've gotten quite an effort, too, out of the University of Louisville. It's won just one game last year as a new coach in here, and the stadium really stole the show. This masterpiece, $63 million.
If you look
so many people that participated in building this.
Cardinals starting defense still on the field. Get practice in a new system.
5 minutes to go. Mummy on the move, floats it, and that is caught by Shanklin, who is up in it, lifted into the air, out of bounds. Stop the clock. Tony Stallings got him airborne.
Well, you mentioned the stadium. It's over $60 million to build this.
That was Teddy Ockham, by the way.
$15 million was raised towards this stadium before the first dollar from corporate sponsors came in. They had little town meetings all over to sell season tickets, sell personal seat licenses, and that's why they consider this the Green Bay of college football, because the town really feels like they own a piece of this.
Ockham becomes the 11th receiver to catch a pass today for the University of Kentucky. 11 different Wildcats have caught passes. The quick feet of Martez Johnson.
Number 4, Johnson.
He doesn't want to go down. Mummy, with these wild kittens, the recruiting class that he has, these young kids, now you begin to develop competition on the practice field in depth.
Well, they've got the depth, and they'll have it for a while because they're young. Doesn't this look like Rich Stadium in Buffalo to you?
Has a bit of that, doesn't it?
The way it sweeps around, it really, really does. But Ken Nord, Rick Nord's father, Rick Nord, the starting offensive guard for the Cardinals, owns a deli, Nord's Brownback Deli. In just the meetings that he held in his deli, he raised $180,000 towards the building of this stadium, and other places did that all over Louisville and all over the area. This community has a real feeling of ownership and pride in what they've accomplished here to put this together.
Mummy's pass broken up by number 2.
The intended target on the play for UK. Ockham once again. Coleman, Nicholson, McCord, White, Ockham, Dougie Allen, Jimmy Robinson, Yeast, Davis. entire roster of blue bloods.
It doesn't stop. I mean, you mentioned, Paul, the 10th Wildcat to catch a pass today.
11th.
Dougie Allen. Dougie Allen was the 11th guy?
Well, Dougie was the 10th. Haken becomes the
11th. Dougie Allen, the 10th, could start on most teams in the SEC without a bunch of a drop-off.
It's going to be interesting to see the kind of numbers that this offense piles up against Southeastern Conference competition, which is down the road. This is Mummy now. Airborne and caught for a first down, and he'll move the stakes forward to the 49-yard line. On the receiving end there, Neil Brown, a freshman, another first-year player. Courtney Dinkins on his back with 4 minutes to go. For Dinkins, for John L. Smith, for Louisville, much like Kentucky, the first objective to win their conference championship, to compete for the conference. Conference USA, that'll take a while. Kentucky wants to climb up the ladder against the SEC. Haven't shared a conference crown since the mid-70s under Frank Kersey. They're rewriting SEC record books too. Martez Johnson inside the 45, 43-yard line.
And Paul, I think the improvement in the record of the Kentucky team is going to go a long ways toward helping Couch in his race towards the Heisman. I mean, if there's one thing you can be sure about the Heisman Trophy race, it's like the Kentucky Derby, in that the front runner usually doesn't win it. And Couch is not the front runner, although he's one of the top candidates for it. But University of Kentucky is not known for winning a lot of football games. And if he's able to take them up to 7-4, 8-3, get into a bowl game and win it, people around the country will say, why did Kentucky do this? Must have been Couch. And that helps him on the Heisman race.
Mummy in there now, and Shanklin. A lot of green grass out there for the first down. Down the sideline. And roll out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Our producer today, Tom Hewitt. Ned Tate from Cleveland, Ohio. Directing, Mary Nicholas, Mitch Rubenstein. Reggie Wade, our technical director. Brett Smith, engineer in charge. Steve Calker with player identification has been a busy man today with all these wide receivers in here, as has Pistons. Russ Anderson, all the statistics. Been a mountain of numbers today. Burned out 2 calculators for him, as Kentucky and Mummy will open the year with a victory. Their first road trip, their first game to open a season away from Commonwealth since 1982.
They're going to want to open away from Commonwealth every year if it keeps going like this.
Caught again. Snared at the 15. Breaking tackles and lunging into the end zone. Did he get in? No signal yet. No signal yet. Where will they mark Vincent Harrison down? Now they give him a touchdown. There was some doubt, but Harrison has the score of 24 yards.
That's another personal highlight film for Harrison. He broke several tackles there, but this will also be good instructional video for the Cardinals defensive staff. Again, as their players come up to make a tackle, right when they get up to make that tackle, instead of driving their feet through, they stop their feet and lunge. And when the running back keeps running, he runs right out of their arms. That's something that they practice well. In this game, they haven't brought it to the field.
Hansen with the extra point. And this one is no good. Well, he's exhausted. Crying out loud. Hansen, the 12th pass catcher today. His very first TD for the young freshman. Probably the most surprised man in the stadium at scoring this touchdown is that man right there, that young fellow, number 29, Vincent Harrison, just a freshman from Cincinnati, Ohio. Has all these other receivers in front of him, all these other ball carriers. He gets into the game. Very first college game, and doggone it if he doesn't score a touchdown.
And look how young he looks, and look how genuinely elated. That's why I love college football. These guys are excited to be there. They're excited to play. Look at that guy.
Is that a pacifier or a mouthpiece there?
He looks like he's about 12, which is good now. We're not slamming you, Vincent, because when you're 50, you'll look like you're 35. So those of us that have been down that road, we wish we looked as youthful as you at that time.
From Princeton High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was a quarterback. Cincinnati, very first game, he's into the end zone here.
Boy, that's a look in the eyes of being defeated on this day.
His uncle's looking on, John Shelby. You'll remember him for playing with the Orioles and the Dodgers along with the Tigers. And there's some athleticism in that family. Jackson out across the 31-yard line. Tackled by Stefan Walters with 2.5 minutes to go. Even this score in this outing cannot overshadow Tom Jurich, the athletic director of the University of Louisville, and the pride he has to feel on just getting to this day. Our thanks to him for his hospitality, to his assistant athletic director and Kenny Klein, as well as Ken Horn. And the sun shines bright for Kentucky today. 800 plus. Raphael Cooper. The mystery of Moreau needs to be solved. Perhaps the coaching staff will be forthcoming about that after the game. We never saw Frank Moreau today. Just bits and pieces of him, and for the most part, it's been Cooper out of the backfield. They got away from trying to run the ball, and they paid the price.
They stayed with their plan, though. Their plan was if Kentucky by alignment took away the run, they'd throw it. And when they got behind, they needed the fast guys on the field that could break it. But on the other side, you give up 811 yards total offense, Paul. That's almost a half a mile. 880 yards is a half a mile, right?
That's correct.
So 811 is just shy of a half a mile total offense. So look at that score on the upper left there, 68-28. You know, you look at 28 points that Louisville scored on a very difficult day with a new offense. Ordinarily, you'd be very proud of that. They ought to be very proud of that. But when there's 68 on the other side, it just takes away the luster.
It's going to be 80 more years before Kentucky's invited back here. Ivan Green inside the 20. They had not played in Louisville, had Kentucky, since 1915. Do you think that the Wildcats have left this city something to remember them by?
They did, but they'd better enjoy it while it lasts, because this Louisville team is only a couple years away from doing this right back to them, as evidenced by that. Now, that's against their second string defense, but again, Ivan Green did that all last year against everybody's number ones.
A gain of 32 to pad the stats. On the draw, Cooper slithers, darts, and is pulled down by his jersey by Anthony Wadja. Pulled him down.
Paul, when we talk about this here, the upper left, that score, 68-28. My freshman year at BYU, we played Utah State. John L. Smith wasn't there, but we won that game 70-46. Now imagine scoring 46 points and getting blown out.
That's what you have here. I mean, Louisville gets nearly 30 on Kentucky. They're going to have over 30 if this drive produces points. And Cooper asked for a breather. Hey, we're going to go over the 100-point plateau here, and you're going to get blown out.
And so you've got a score right now that's a bit lopsided, but at the same time, from a fan of offensive football, how could you want a better game than this? You've seen people score from all over the field, all kinds of different ways, and this has been an offensive show on both sides.
Redmond hunting what would be a 4th touchdown pass, has it. Touchdown Cardinals and Jeff Scholly, the tight end. Redmond for the 4th time, beaten and bruised, cut and bloodied, connects with Jeff Scholly.
Beaten and bruised, cut and bloodied. Paul Kennedy, everybody.
Well, he got his 34th point of the day.
Yes, he did.
We're over 100 points. A touchdown pass. Another in the mini for Redmond. On the delay. Hunting 2, and once again they come up shy on the 2-point conversion. Redmond, though, with 4 touchdown passes today, close to 400 yards passing of his own. Valiant in defeat.
Valiant in defeat. Scored 34 points against Kentucky, albeit that last one against their second-team defense. Ordinarily, that's a great day at the office. Not today.
Louisville born and bred Chris Redmond. His 4th touchdown pass today is also the 30th of his Cardinal careers, now soared above 5,000 yards career passing. And small solace to him, but those are numbers that will stand a while. Now the chip and the chop on the onside kick, and covered up. Down at the 28-yard line with 1 minute and 18 seconds to go. So Mummy got in there wearing the baseball cap to your left and Tim Couch is getting tired of waiting. He's ready to go get back on the bus and head home.
Yeah, he wants to go home and have a Gatorade and relax. This has been an awesome, awesome day for him, and he picked the right time to do it. He did it on national television.
So if Couch is done and Redmond is done, we have a new quarterback now for the University of Kentucky.
First and 10 UK from his 28-yard line.
On first step, bobbled snap from center and surrounded and dropped. Doyle back at the 17-yard line. Gets that jersey dirty right away. Doyle, a little patch of green on the left shoulder there.
He might be the only one he gets this season, so I would enjoy that. To be Hal Mummy right. Look at that. Looks like Malibu Hal. Looks like he just came off the surfboard. No stress in that man's life at this point. But he's got some big games down the road. He's probably already thinking about it behind those sunglasses.
His demeanor rarely changes, though. I mean, if he's 4 strokes in front of the field or 3 strokes behind with 2 to go, he seems to be the same guy.
Is that a nickname for him, Malibu Hal?
It might be now.
What do you think about that?
Kentucky has taken a timeout. The play clock expiring, 25 seconds to go. So Kentucky opens up a winner, moves on now to face Eastern Kentucky. Roy Kidd's Cardinals take nothing for granted in that football game, even though Eastern Kentucky is 1AA. Kidd is one of the all-time greats. A field there in Redmond, Kentucky, named for him. For Couch today, 7 touchdown passes, the first of 3 quarterbacks that we have seen for UK. Better than 800 yards of total offense for the Big Blue. And Redmond, his counterpart, the best of times and the worst of times. And he'll literally be left scarred by some of this.
Well, he'll have a scar where some of those stitches are going to be. But this is a kid that can be proud of his performance today. This is a performance by him that they'll be able to build on now in the future. And so really, when we talked about the matchup of these 2 quarterbacks, we came through as advertised. Both played well. Only one had protection. Tim Couch made the most of his protection. Redmond stood in the face of a vicious pass rush with no protection and scored a lot of points and threw for a lot of yards anyway. Both these guys can be proud of their performance.
So Hal Mummy and his defensive coordinator Mike Major, as you see right there, stride for stride as they go over to shake John L. Smith's hand. And on a day in which Tim Couch fired 7 separate touchdown passes, 68-34. The final here, Kentucky retains the Governor's Cup and dominates the first ever game played here in Cardinal Stadium.